The Citroën DS was called the most advanced car on Earth in 1955. It won awards across Europe. Engineers loved it. But in America, shop owners literally refused to work on it. And that's just the beginning of one of the automotive industry's most spectacular collapses. Let's talk about why French cars crashed and burned in the land of opportunity. The cultural mismatch when Paris met Detroit. Let's start with the elephant in the room, or should I say, the tiny French sedan on the American highway. French automakers arrived in the US thinking their European success would translate automatically. After all, if Parisians loved these cars, why wouldn't Americans? Here's why. Because Americans and Europeans might as well have been speaking different languages when it came to what they wanted from a car. In France, a car was transportation with personality. It needed charm, character, maybe a little quirkiness. In America, a car was a statement of power, freedom, and something you could actually depend on. It needed to conquer distances, not cobblestone streets. It needed to be fixable by your neighbor Bob, who ran the local garage, not by a specialist trained in French hydraulics. The French showed up with sophisticated engineering and artistic design. Americans looked at them and said, "That's cute, but where's the V8?" It was like bringing a baguette to a barbecue. Sure, it's great, but nobody asked for it, and now everyone's just confused. The numbers tell the story. The Citroën DS, that masterpiece of French engineering, sold only 38,000 units total during its entire run in North America. For context, that's what Ford sold in F-Series trucks in about 2 weeks during the same era. Think about that. One of the most celebrated cars in European history barely made a dent in America. But here's where it gets interesting. The technology that made French cars revolutionary in Europe became their death sentence in America. Technology too advanced for its own good. Let's talk about the Citroën DS, the car that should have conquered the world, but instead became a technician's worst nightmare. This thing was genuinely ahead of its time. Hydro-pneumatic suspension that adjusted ride height automatically, self-leveling, a single-spoke steering wheel, aerodynamic design that looked like it came from the future. In 1955, when this car debuted, American cars still had chrome bumpers the size of park benches. Europeans saw genius. Americans saw a problem they couldn't solve. See, when that magical hydraulic suspension broke, and trust me, it broke, American garage guys took one look under the hood and basically said, "Nope, not today, Satan." These technicians were trained on carburetors and distributor caps, not pressurized hydraulic spheres, not complex fluid systems that required special tools and specialized knowledge. Parts? Good luck finding those. You'd have better odds finding a decent croissant in rural Montana. And it wasn't just Citroën. Peugeot brought over cars with unique engineering quirks that made perfect sense in France, but left American shop owners scratching their heads. The problem wasn't that these cars were bad. They were brilliant. The problem was they were brilliant in all the wrong ways for the American market. You know what Americans wanted? Something that went vroom when you press the gas and didn't require a PhD to fix when it broke. The definition of dependable got lost in translation. Here's the kicker. French cars weren't actually unreliable by European standards. Let me explain that before you throw your phone at me. In Europe, dependable meant something could be fixed easily and affordably when it inevitably broke. French cars broke occasionally, sure, but every village had a technician who knew Peugeots inside and out. Parts were cheap, labor was reasonable. Your car would be back on the road by Tuesday. In America, dependable meant something completely different. It meant your car didn't break. Period. End of discussion. Japanese cars were earning reputations as machines you could drive for 200,000 miles with nothing but oil changes. Meanwhile, French cars were breaking down at 40,000 miles, and when they did, finding someone to fix them was like trying to find a French speaker in Kansas. Good luck with that. This created a vicious cycle. French cars would break, owners couldn't get them fixed quickly or cheaply, word spread, reputation tanked, sales plummeted, dealer networks shrank, which made the next breakdown even harder to fix. Repeat, until bankruptcy. There was even a joke in the 70s that perfectly captured American sentiment. The French make great wine and terrible cars. That one-liner killed more sales than any actual breakdown. American buyers wanted cars that just worked. Cars that ran year after year without drama, without surprises, without needing a specialist every time something went wrong. But wait, you haven't heard about the car that single-handedly destroyed France's reputation in America. The Renault Dauphine, a catastrophe on 4 wheels. The Renault Dauphine. Where do I even start with this automotive disaster? This little rear-engine city car was designed for narrow European streets, tiny parking spots, and short commutes. It was cute, affordable. Europeans loved it. Americans? They called it one of the worst cars ever sold on American soil, and they weren't exaggerating. Here's the crazy part. In 1960, the Dauphine actually hit its peak with over 102,000 units sold in America. For a brief moment, it was the second best-selling import behind Volkswagen. French automakers thought they'd finally cracked the code. Then, reality hit. First problem, it rusted. Not, oh, there's a little spot. We're talking the floor dissolved beneath your feet. The body panels corroded so fast you could practically watch it happen in real time. Second problem, the engine. That tiny rear-mounted motor was designed to putter around Paris at 30 miles per hour. American highways demanded sustained speeds of 60, 70, even 80 miles per hour. The Dauphine's engine responded by overheating, vibrating violently, and occasionally just giving up entirely. Passing a truck? Better start planning that maneuver 3 miles in advance. Third problem, durability, or should I say the complete absence of it. Electrical gremlins, transmission failures, brakes that felt more like suggestions than actual stopping power. Consumer Reports tested the Dauphine and basically published a warning label. Don't buy this car. When a consumer advocacy magazine tells people to actively avoid your product, you know you've achieved something special, just not in a good way. The Dauphine didn't just fail. It became a warning label, a cautionary tale. And this one car did lasting damage to the perception of all French cars in America. One bad apple meet the entire barrel. But you know what's even more tragic? The fundamental design philosophy. Wrong cars, wrong roads, wrong everything. French cars were designed for a Europe that doesn't exist in America. Think about it. European cities are old, streets are narrow, parking is tight, distances between cities are relatively short. Gas has always been expensive, so French automakers built small, nimble, fuel-efficient cars. Cars that could squeeze into impossible parking spots. Cars that sipped gasoline like fine wine. Then they shipped those same cars to America, where everything is bigger, roads are wider, cities are sprawling. People commute 50 miles one way to work. And in the 60s and 70s, gas was cheap enough that nobody cared about fuel economy. Americans looked at these tiny French cars on massive American highways and felt unsafe. They looked at the small engines and felt underpowered. They looked at the compact dimensions and felt cramped. A Citroën 2C might be perfect for navigating the tight corners of Lyon, but on Interstate 80 with semis roaring past at 75 miles an hour, that's not transportation. That's a death wish. The French weren't selling the wrong cars. They were selling the right cars in the wrong country. And then, just when things couldn't get worse, the competition showed up with a completely different playbook. The Japanese arrived with a strategy. While French automakers were busy being artistic and sophisticated, Japanese companies were being smart. Honda, Toyota, and Nissan looked at the American market and asked themselves a simple question. What do Americans actually want? Not what we think they should want, what they do want. The answer? Simple. Durable, affordable cars that just work. So that's exactly what they built. No hydraulic suspension systems that required specialized training, no quirky engineering that made technicians nervous. Just straightforward, dependable transportation that anyone could fix with basic tools. And the timing? Chef's kiss. When the 1973 oil crisis hit and suddenly filling up a V8 became expensive, who was ready with fuel-efficient alternatives? The Japanese, who had built a reputation for longevity and low maintenance costs, who had invested heavily in dealer networks and parts availability. Say it with me, the Japanese. The French couldn't compete. Their cars were complex when Americans wanted simple. They were quirky when Americans wanted dependable. They were expensive to maintain when Americans wanted affordable. Honda Civics and Toyota Corollas became legendary for running forever with minimal maintenance. Meanwhile, French cars were becoming legendary for breaking down in creative new ways. The Japanese played the long game with their heads. The French played the short game with their hearts. And in the ruthless American market, hearts don't pay the bills. So here's the ultimate question. Did French cars actually fail in America, or did French automakers just never really take the US market seriously?